piece is titled Courage and Grace. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. Mark Twain said that. I've never thought of myself as a particularly courageous person. I survived breast cancer, chemotherapy, and radiation. I wouldn't call that courage, just survival. I did not ever feel overwhelming fear. In fact, I felt an indescribable peace as I was going through treatment. I was not afraid of dying. I know where I'm going when I die. My brother Bobby, 15 months younger than me, died of a cancerous brain tumor 18 years ago. He was 30. We were inseparable growing up. I figured if I died, I'd get to see him again. That was kind of an exciting thought. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to leave this world anytime soon. I want my grandbabies and even my great-grandbabies to know their Grammy. I just have an assurance of something better waiting on the other side. For me, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro took courage. January 1st, 2012. I don't know why I'm so afraid. Unreasonably scared to death. Saying goodbye to my husband at the airport before we leave is so hard. I'm screaming, "Don't let me go," inside. But I tell him I'm scared. I don't think he nor anyone else understood the depths of my fear. I want to throw up. There's a gnawing pit in my stomach and a vice around my heart that literally makes it hard to breathe. I so want to be excited, but fear is squelching all other emotions. I haven't been able to sleep an entire night through for weeks. I keep asking myself, what in the world are you thinking? How do you think you're going to accomplish this? Why are you even here, for crying out loud? Why didn't they have some kind of fitness test as part of the application process? You surely would have failed that. But here I am, about to fly halfway around the world to climb Africa's highest mountain. I get on the plane. Fear is my constant companion. I first see Kilimanjaro from the lawn of our hotel and think, holy crap, it's huge. We leave to go on our acclimation hike. We have a pleasant, hot trek through the African countryside. We walk through villages, a coffee plantation, and behind homes festooned with clotheslines, laden with all the colors of the rainbow, flapping in the wind like flags. It's market day in the last village we come to. There is an overwhelming stench coming from the shriveled, dried tilapia. Piles of beans and corn displayed for shoppers look like splotches of paint on an artist's canvas. We begin our hike down to the waterfall. My first clue should be the hiking stick they hand us at the top. Worn smooth from the many hands before mine, this stick and the rickety handrail made of crooked branches become my lifeline. The steep, tall steps carved into the hillside prove a bit of a challenge going down. I think some of the steps are the same height as my short legs. Finally, I am able to take my sandals off and step into the cool water. The waterfall's mist is a refreshing relief from the sweaty descent. After a short rest and a few pictures, I decide to head back up with the first group that's leaving. We are the ones that will probably have the most difficulty. I don't think I'm going to make it back out. My legs feel like jello and I can't catch my breath. Even some of the more experienced hikers are huffing and puffing their way up the steep incline. Others seem to barely break a sweat. I practically collapse on a picnic bench at the top. I email home that night, tears streaming down my face. I lie in bed, once again unable to sleep, two thoughts running through my head. Lord, please give me that unexplainable peace I had when I went through treatment. And trying to convince myself, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I know in my head that I should not be feeling this much fear. I know beyond a doubt it was God who gave me such a peace and strength going through cancer surgery and treatment. Knowing doesn't help. Faith is a matter of the heart, not the head. Fear has crawled into my heart and taken over. The next morning, we ready ourselves to start up the mountain. I get on the bus. There are logistical delays, and we don't hike today as planned. We camp at the trailhead. I see the steep trail that we'll be taking out of camp the next morning. Steps carved into the side of a mountain. The memory of the waterfall hike keeps me awake. That and the symphony of zippers in the night. I contribute to the music too as I get up to go to the bathroom 4 or 5 times. Some of our group is already experiencing illnesses. I can't eat breakfast. The gnawing pit is still there, and I have to tell myself to breathe. Carrie, one of the survivors, has a rough morning. She's sick, feeling scared, and homesick. I give her a hug. We start up the trail. The hiking is not easy, but it's not as hard as the waterfall hike. Pole, pole, or slowly, slowly, the guides tell us. It is actually an enjoyable couple of days. We are split into 3 groups of survivors and 3 groups of caregivers. Each day, a group of survivors and caregivers join forces to tackle the day. The caregivers do a great job of distracting us. We have dance parties, very briefly, during our breaks on the trail, and play Name That Tune, or 2 Truths and a Lie, while we hike. We start in the jungle, trees forming a green canopy over our heads. The skies open up as we wind our way through the heath zone, the landscape ever-changing, becoming more barren. Huge black boulders of ancient lava dot the landscape. An occasional bright yellow flower stands out against the gray. We all stop for a picture by a tall cactusy plant that looks like it's crowned with cabbage. We have entered the moorland. Fear pokes its ugly head only when I see the snow-capped summit in the distance. I still cannot fathom that we will actually get to the top. I keep walking. The 3rd day on the trail, Charlie warns us that this day will be difficult, the next more difficult, and the day after that will be the hardest. Sickness has made it impossible for Dave, our oldest survivor, to continue. Dee, one of the caregivers, volunteers to go back to Moshi with him. Then, about an hour into the hike, Nina decides she can't go on and also heads back. It's discouraging to lose 3 of our new family. I know thoughts of, if I were going to give up, now would be the time, are running through more minds than just mine. Vegetation grows more sparse. It's just rock and dirt. We start climbing and climbing. At least we're making progress. Then we start descending and descending. Enough so that there's vegetation again. The tall, strange, cactus-looking plants make it feel almost like we're approaching an oasis. It takes all day to gain a net of 430 feet. As we come down the valley, a seemingly sheer rock wall rises above our camp. The snow-covered Kibo summit looms to the left. It looks so close, but I know we have what is supposed to be our 2 most difficult days ahead of us. This is when I give up. I get dizzy and feel like I'm going to faint when I get on the roof of our house. I see that 800-foot rock wall, and that gnawing pit in my gut becomes a black hole. The lump in my throat finally manifests itself in a waterfall of tears. There is no way I am going to make it up that cliff. It takes me all night to write my why I am done and why I am okay with that speech in my head. Day 4. I find Dr. Deming in his tent and tell him I'm afraid I will freeze on that wall. He calmly tells me, I see in you the ability to do just one more step. You will be fine. I really don't believe him. Charlie tells me that the only way out is the way we came in. Crap. I take a deep breath and move forward. I give my day pack to Chombo, our guide. Dr. Deming is cheering us on as we scramble over the rocks up the trail. We can't just get up the cliff and get it over with. It is rush hour on Barranco Wall. The trail is clogged with both hikers and porters. We have to press ourselves against the rocks to let the burdened porters by. There is a point where we have to kiss the wall, literally face a rock and scale across it. Ted, one of the caregivers, comes up behind me and puts a steady hand in the small of my back. I face the wall. I don't look down. Chombo turns around and tells me to trust him. Finding handholds and footholds, legs shaking, I lock my eyes on Chombo's, grab his strong arm, and he pulls me to safety. Ted follows me the rest of the way, that day and the next. At the top of Barranco Wall, I find a rock away from everyone. The tears that flow wash the rest of the fear away. Grace, day 5. Step, rest. Step, rest. Just one more step. You can do just one more step. Step, rest. These are the thoughts that run through my head nonstop as we approach the summit. The gravel crunches with each painfully slow step. It gets harder to breathe. The icy wind is brutal at times. It bites through all the layers I'm wearing and blows fine gray dust all around our faces. We have to cover our mouths and noses to breathe. I don't hurt. I just haven't slept more than 3 or 4 hours a night since we arrived in Africa. A couple of nights, I didn't sleep at all. I'm exhausted, physically, emotionally, and mentally. I wonder what everyone would do if I just collapsed where I stand. I have once again given my day pack up to Chombo. He calls me Strong Mama. But how frustrating is it for him to have to move so slowly for me? He's been to the summit more times than he can count. He throws on the pack that weighs me down like it's just another layer of clothing. I follow him closely, step by step, rest, step. Ted is still just behind me, encouraging, nudging gently, holding my hand if the ground is treacherous. There is no more chatter, no more trying to distract us from the task ahead. I start wondering, why in the world would anyone in their right mind give up personal vacation time and actually pay to come on this trek just to help get my fanny up the mountain? I know that's what Ted and the other caregivers have done. The sun is shining, the sky is brilliant blue, and we are standing above the clouds. I grab Ted and Chombo and have a picture taken of the 3 of us at the sign that says we have reached Stella Point. I didn't make it. We made it to the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. We head across the snow-covered crater toward camp. A glacier rises on the horizon. It isn't just the altitude. It is truly breathtakingly beautiful. There is so much joy in my heart as we reach Crater Camp that I can't wipe the silly grin off my face. Our tents are at the base of a glacier. A glacier. We really are going to sleep next to it. I notice the blues, greens, and gray of the icy wall, but I'm too tired to stand and marvel. My throat feels like it's on fire, and my head is pounding. But I'm thankful I'm not one of the many suffering from altitude sickness. I pick out a tent, find our filthy bags, pull out my sleeping bag. As much as I just want to crawl in and go to sleep, I know that the sun will soon set. I join others in making luminaries. One in honor of my mom, a 3-year breast cancer survivor. One in honor of my mom's sister Mary, my godmother, battling stage 4 colon cancer. And finally, with tears threatening to freeze on my face, one in memory of my brother Bobby. He's the reason for my determination. I did this trek in memory of him. But I know I never would have thought I had the strength or courage to attempt it had I not experienced cancer myself. I help set out the luminaries to spell hope. We have a little ceremony that night. Many are too sick or exhausted to participate. Father Frank, a fellow survivor, leads us in a prayer. Amazing Grace kept going through my head every day on the mountain, especially the new version that says, "My chains are gone, I've been set free." I knew somehow, whether alone in my tent or standing on a peak, I would be singing that chorus when I got to the summit. It is just so right after the prayer. Our voices lift into the darkening sky. The yellows, pinks, and oranges of sunset reflecting on the glacier are more stunning than any cathedral. Sleep evades me once again. The night sounds could be a soundtrack for a horror movie. Deep, guttural moans coming from 2 tents over, hyperventilating in the tent next to mine. Someone is throwing up. Someone else is crying. I actually hear what sounds like explosive diarrhea. More moaning, gagging, snoring, throwing up. I almost giggle. It sounds so ridiculous. I spend the night praying for those who are so sick. We arise with the sun and begin the task of stringing more than 800 prayer flags on strands of rope. It takes longer to do everything at this altitude. I feel like I have to stop and catch my breath after every 2 or 3 steps. I stand and watch as others are stringing flags. Every flag tells a story. Some, obvious by the tender way they are held, gazed at, cried over. Bobby's flag goes up next to Mom's and Aunt Mary's. The ropes are attached atop the glacier, 3 long strands curving in the wind, anchored to the ground. Green, red, yellow, blue, and white flags flap wildly in the wind. I immediately spot the line of flags I carried up the mountain. This is the moment. It is why we are here. We remember, we honor,